And while his trip to New Zealand generated only minor local interest, we're expecting quite a different story here. Well, that's what the numbers say anyway. A news poll conducted for Sunrise shows 58% of those surveyed think he should be the next king over Prince Charles. But Australians are still divided about whether a monarch should remain our head of state. Under half want to keep it, 43% don't. That figure improved when Prince William was brought into the picture. 51% said the monarchy should stay if Wills succeeds the Queen. So based on those figures, we're still pretty undecided when it comes to the question, should Australia become a republic? Well, two people who have very clear views are Major General Michael Keating from the Australian Republican Movement and Professor David Flint from Australians for a Constitutional Monarchy. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. Michael, what do you think about Prince William's visit to Australia?
Good morning, Mel. Well, I think polls are funny, aren't they? They are interesting. I'd say the only thing that this poll tells us is that William is more popular than his father, Charles, and I would suggest even the drover's dog is more popular than his father, Charles. The poll really concentrates on members of the Windsor family, though, and it misses the whole point about our discussion in Australia about becoming a republic. Becoming a republic is about the institution of the constitutional monarchy, not about individual people such as Charles and William. And it's really about us. It's about us, the Australian people, not an English aristocratic family. It's about us and what we want to do with our Australian democracy. It's about our place in the world in 2010, and it's about our identity.
So then, David, what is your view? I mean, do you think Australians, New Zealanders didn't seem to be all that interested in the Prince? Do you think will be different here, given that under half want to keep a monarchy?
Well, of course, the question that you did ask was who should be the head of state, and Kevin Rudd, for example, says that the Governor-General is the head of state. We voted on this in 1999, and the vote was very clear. It was overwhelming. All states voted to keep the constitutional monarchy, as did 72% of electorate, so it was pretty clear. The Republicans had a pretty fair go. They've gone backwards since. They won't reveal what sort of republic they want, and they've engaged in some pretty mean-spirited, rather nasty attacks, personal attacks, on Prince William, and I don't think that's the way to go. What they should be doing is doing the hard yards of producing a model and explaining to the Australian people why their republic is better than the present crowned republic which we have now.
Michael, do you, I mean, given the referendum was 10 years ago, really not much has changed when you look at those figures. So do you think we will ever want to give up the monarchy? I know it's a discussion we continually have, but there's one thing to talk about it, there's another thing to actually go through and do it.
Well, I think we can have a very sensible discussion in Australia. All we need is the government and Mr Rudd to fire the starter's gun and start the process. Now, it is 10 years since the last referendum, and Professor Flint misses the point about the last referendum. Australians didn't vote to retain a constitutional monarchy with all its disadvantages. At that time, partly due to a scare campaign, Australians voted against the kind of republic they thought was being offered at that time. And really now the discussion is about whether we want a system that has at its apex a sovereign who has us as subjects and who gains that position by birthright, or whether in 2010 we, the Australian people, want to be sovereign in our own country. We want to be citizens, and we want a head of state who represents us, who unambiguously represents us, the Australian people. And at the present time, the situation is that the Queen doesn't, the Queen and the constitutional monarchy don't reflect the values and ethos of Australia in 2010.
Okay, David, just very quickly then, there's been a lot of talk, constitution, no constitution, this head of state, that head of state, etc., etc. Do you think we need to cut through all that and get back to the basics of a conversation, republic or monarchy?
Well, really, we have to go to the Constitution, and it's up to the Republicans to do the hard yards, to produce the model which shows that some politicians' republic is better than the crowned republic we presently have. They seem incapable, totally incapable, of even telling us what the new constitution and what the new flag will look like. Why don't they do that work?
All right, well, we've got a lot of work obviously still to do. So, Professor David Flint, thank you. Major General Michael Keating, thank you for your time.
Well.